thank you for coming in on a good Saturday morning when you could have been doing so many other things. But we're glad you've chosen to do this and to make a difference in student lives. And my name is Manny Barbara. I'm with the Silicon Valley Education Foundation. I'm a recovering superintendent. I retired about 3 years ago, and I love what we're doing here at the foundation. We're going to kind of get into it just a little bit. You're going to be meeting various people here today, so we'll get a chance. I know Javon and Sue probably have something going where everyone will get a chance to meet each other. But what I want to do is kind of give you a little bit of a set. Before we get started, how many of you have taught in our Stepping Up to Algebra program? Fabulous. How many people do? I should just ask that. So I just wait. Okay. So what I'm going to try to do is very, very quickly give you a set of what this is all about, and I'm also going to share with you some hot off the press data that I will guarantee no one has yet. So in terms of the status of math in the county, I have individual district data, but I want to share that with the superintendents first before we get that out, because we look at data a little bit differently here at the foundation. But just in terms of, very quickly, and I'm not going to go through all of these, the Student Fund Program is an extension of our Stepping Up to Algebra program in partnership with the Hispanic Foundation of Silicon Valley. That's Dave Dardis there. That's run by Ron Gonzalez. And we put this into place last year as our Stepping Up to Algebra program has evolved. We started off with, the Stepping Up to Algebra was a summer program about 5 years ago, and it's so much more than that now. We really feel that the Stepping Up to Algebra is an opportunity to change the trajectory of the student coursework, ultimately leading to completion of the A to G requirements. This particular program is an extension. For those who've taught the program, you already know this. Students that were at the basic level, and to review those items: real numbers, ratios, phonics, linear equations, multiple representations. And so we added the Saturday program because we felt that students needed sort of a boost to continue during the year, and really appreciative for the Hispanic Foundation to raise that funding. Okay, very quickly in terms of what we do at the foundation, our primary objective is to get kids to complete the University of California A to G requirements. I'm assuming everyone knows what they are. The 15 courses that just allows you to apply to the university. Doesn't guarantee you're going to get it, just allows you to apply. And we do it through the focus of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math, and the focus of academics. This is important in terms of specifically, I'm going to show you some data in a little bit, the lens that we look at this. We do it through our advocacy programs. We put out policy briefs, we put out forums. We advocate for the A to G curriculum to be adopted as a default curriculum at the high school level. Our programs are Stepping Up to Algebra, Stepping Up to Science program as an example, and then the use of technology in our programs. I do want to bring attention to this item here. We do have a STEM site that's up and running now. It's called STEM Powered, and the purpose of that particular website is sort of a one-site where you have some. You want to know about programs that are related to STEM, and also research. We're loading, our goal is to load about 100 pieces of research that are on there. We've already started to load it. So if we see something that's related to math or science in the research area, we just put it up there. So instead of having to hunt for it, we can go to one place and get the information. It's a really, really good site. I think it's going to be even better as we kind of move along. All right. I'm going to assume you understand the importance of why algebra is so critical. It is the gatekeeper course. It is really the course that completing algebra in 8th grade has some really significant advantages relative to what students can expect in terms of their high school completion. But I want to emphasize something. It's not just taking algebra, it's actually being successful in it. And so this is what this program is actually, our goal is to have students that become proficient or advanced when they take the CST test at the end. It's not just a matter of taking the course itself. I'm going to jump here. This table here is just hot off the press, and I want to thank my colleague Bob Nichols for putting this together. You take a look at that. And there were 270,000 students last year, approximately, in Santa Clara County. And as you can see, as it starts to drop down, we're still going to enter the grade 3 language arts there, that other information. But I just want to focus on the algebra data right now. 48% of the county students were proficient in algebra in 8th grade. Now, we analyze data differently than the way you get the... How many of you are grade 8 algebra teachers? Okay, you know you get the state data? So the state gives you the percentage of the students who actually take the test. But that's a little deceiving in the sense of how well students are actually doing. We go ahead and we analyze the data according to the total percentage of the students in the entire 8th grade class. So you may have 100 students take the algebra test in 8th grade, and 80 of them are proficient, so you get a result back that says 80%. But if there's 240 students in that class, it's only 80 over 200, it's 33%. So we analyze that data a little bit differently, and the district results change. Because districts that have very exclusive criteria in who gets into algebra have really high state results, but their total percentage of 8th grade may not necessarily reflect that. And so, and this is really becomes an issue of access for us, where we really try to push the access issue. So you can, and then take a look at this right here, the proficient in algebra 2, we were just talking about it over there. 32% actually were proficient on the algebra 2, and of course in the county. And out of the entire population, 49% completed the A to G coursework. But it's also an equity issue, and this is the last slide I'm going to go through, and I'm going to turn it over to Cecilio. This is where really we take a look at this from an equity lens perspective. And I just want to point, we'll start up here, I'm just going to hit a couple of these. Look at the Algebra 1. So 48% of the students I mentioned were proficient last year, but it broke down this way: 58% white, 78% Asian. The Hispanic population stayed the same. 23% were proficient. The African American population went up 9%. So they were 23% last year. 32% were proficient. Our position here is more important than the API, more important than any other data point. Proficiency in algebra in 8th grade is a better indicator of really how well students are doing in the district, because it ultimately predicts how these students will do as they leave high school. You know, the high school exit exam is very minimal. The API can reflect, you know, it's basically a reflection of the demographics. And it's not to say it's totally, and it's going to change, by the way, new legislation passed on that. But really the API can be very, very deceiving. You can have districts, which we do, have APIs of not over 900, and the Hispanic pass rate, proficiency rate in algebra in 8th grade, you know, somewhere in the 10 to 15% range. So it basically says these kids are not going to be very successful down the line. The single biggest predictor of whether a student is actually going to graduate from college, not just get in. Anyone know? Not you, Dave. You heard me say this a million times. The single biggest predictor of whether you're going to graduate from high school, I mean from college, not just get in. The rigor of your high school coursework, especially in math. So ACT just came out with there's a long-term Adelman study that really showed that Algebra 2, success in Algebra 2 is critical, and those ACT just came out with their data that showed that if you take 4 years of math in high school, it's pretty much the best predictor of whether you're going to be successful as a freshman in college. So that's why we're really focused on so much on that. So if you take a look at the Algebra 2 proficiency, try to read it in case you can't read it from the back. 35% white, 62% Asian, 9% Hispanic in the entire county, 12% African American. So I'll let that stand for itself. The A to G completion rate, 21% Hispanic, 20% African American. You can see that gap there. But this is here is sort of a balance on the A to G, because A to G doesn't say anything about the rigor of the course, right? For the high school people, you know that we can both take, you know, the same. There was a study that was done several years ago that we can both take an AP language arts class, English class, and we both might read Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. But this side of the group has to write a 4-page paper on the Invisible Man, comparing it to the other readings, and over here we have to do a collage. You know, so we may get an A, you may even get a B or a C, but you may learn more. So the EAP, for those that are not high school people, is part of the content standards test that if you pass the items there, the state university system like San Jose State will give you, it's their subject matter test. They will accept it as being ready for college level work. And when you take a look over here, I think it's even more discouraging to see the A to G completion rate. And again, let's jump over to see Hispanic is 21%, but the EAP results are at 13. Well, this was last year because they were still coming in, but last year they were at 13%. So what this program is all about is trying to change these numbers. And we started algebra, we started 8th grade, we're stepping up to algebra to kind of give them the boost to get them in, and now what we're trying to do is begin to change these figures. And I know when we take a look, and I'm going to single out Evergreen for just a second here, because I'm not going to give you all the district results, but you know, Evergreen a couple of years ago was at 34%. In terms of their total proficiency rate in 8th grade. I remember having a conversation with the superintendent and in terms of the total percentage of the class. This last data point, they're now up to 59% of their entire 8th grade class. It's the fastest growth in the entire county. One of the things I've really done is, I know you guys have really gone after, you've been aggressive on this area. I mean, you know, we've had our student program, they added a couple more on their own. But the Saturday program, I think they added more again, so 2 more. So we know that this can make a difference and they can really move it up. Those are fantastic figures. I mean, to go from 34% to 59% in a matter of a couple of years. One of the things, by the way, for those of you in other districts that I would encourage you to look at, that we really focused on in the East Side system. There was a slide I skipped over there. But in the East Side system, each district, so there's seven districts that feed into East Side High School District. The districts were basically making their own decisions as to who goes into algebra, teacher recommendation, and it was all over the place. And so we've had an 18-month project, and the entire system now has common placement protocol across the districts, and then vertically into the high school in terms of who gets into geometry from algebra. And this was really critical. There was a study that was done in San Mateo a few years ago that showed that in the San Mateo, the little study where they took place, that for students going from algebra to geometry to high school, if you're Asian or white, the teacher recommendation and the testing pretty much correlated. If you're Hispanic, you're better off putting your money on the test because the teacher recommendation was lower. Tended to lowball the students. So one of the things that we looked at over in the system is to really take a look at objective data and to apply it equitably, not equally, across the entire system. So if you were proficient, you were advanced, and you met a set of criteria. So I would encourage you, those of you that are outside the East Side system, to take a look at the placement criteria as well, because that does make a difference in terms of